It is never just one thing. We are a complicated people, known for our diversity of thought. According to our Torah reading, this has always been true. When the sea lay before us and Pharaoh's army was approaching from behind, even then we were not of one mind. According to the Jerusalem Talmud, we know this because of the instructions given by Moses. If the people had had just one response in that moment, be it fear or anger, be it a plan to retreat or to advance, be it to be faithful to their God or doubtful, Moses, their leader, would have addressed them with a singular instruction. But instead it is written that Moses said a number of things all at once. Hear them now. God addressed the people and said, Al tira'u, do not fear. Stand still and witness the saving power that God will show you this day. For the Egyptians whom you have seen today, you shall never see again. God will fight for you, and you will be silent. The Midrash explains that Moses gave 4 instructions, one to match each one of the 4 responses to the situation. You see, some of the mixed multitude were overcome with despair at that moment. They knew they were weakened by slavery, and they believed they could never win this battle against Pharaoh's army. So rather than be captured alive and returned to bondage, they would give up their own lives by casting themselves into the sea. Fatalists or martyrs, they thought it better to die free than to live a life of misery. To them, Moses said, Hityatzvu, be still. Stand your ground and witness the saving power that God will show you this day. Be strong enough to stand still. The second response of some of the people was pragmatic pessimism. They thought better to surrender and to return to Egypt alive than to be slaughtered by the army or drowned in the sea. And to them Moses said, the Egyptians whom you see today you will never see again. There is no going back to Egypt. There is no going back. The third response to the dramatic circumstance of life and death was to fight. I wonder how many or how few took this position. 400 years of rage was about to be unleashed against their taskmasters. Now liberated both in body and spirit, these ancient Israelites, who one day would be the inspiration for the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, they said to themselves, better to die with the dignity of a warrior. But Moses held them back and said, God will fight for you. Adonai yilachem lachem. God will fight for you. The fourth response, big or small, we don't know, was the prayer of the faithful. With the sea before them and the chariots behind them, they turned their gaze Godward, heavenward. They called upon their God, perhaps a silent prayer, perhaps a crying prayer. It isn't written in the text, but to them Moses said, Va'atem tacharishun. You should be quiet now. Be silent. And the text goes on to say that there must have been a fifth response at the sea, and that belonged to Moses himself. He had carried out God's command, and this is how it would end. The natural-born leader, the champion of justice named Moses, the great shepherd who knew how to watch over every sheep, every Israelite. For this critical moment, he seems to go passive, directionless. And so God says to him, Ma titzak elai. Why are you crying out to me? Tell the people to advance. The moment called not for a leap of faith, but as Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel would teach, the moment called for a leap of action. Part of the job of a rabbi is to name the moment so that together we can make it sacred. Today is a moment in time, not half as dramatic as our Torah reading, but still significant and multi-layered in emotion. This is the last Pesach for our congregation to gather in this particular configuration of our building. Our sanctuary will, of course, remain just as it is until the restoration work begins in phase 2 of our project. But the hallways just outside our sanctuary will soon be changed, and dramatically so. The open sea of possibilities lay before us, and the wrecking ball is approaching from behind. This is, of course, what we have been waiting for, what we have been working for, what we have been praying for. And so there is great reason to celebrate. And I also know that memories are long and memories run deep. So as you make your way to the Kiddush today, you will see that the plaques are down from the walls. The names of past presidents, the leaves acknowledging donors are down, and all that remains in the rotunda here, you might notice, are the words, Lidor Vador. From generation to generation. Yes. Amen to that. And you'll walk past the marble steps where I'm told consecration students would sit for their class photos. And you'll see the hallway where preschool parents and grandparents lined up to pick up their little ones who were just learning how to learn here at Holy Blossom. And you'll see the doorway to the main office where you came every year as a ritual to pick up your High Holy Day tickets. And you'll walk past the Judaica shop where women of sisterhood greeted passersby for decades. And then you'll go down that staircase to the Philip Smith Hall. How many bar and bat mitzvah kids, how many brides and grooms descended those stairs with nervous anticipation of the celebration awaiting them below. Pesach is all about memory. Pesach is about the stories we tell and retell in order to remember who we are, in order to remember where we came from, in order to remember to whom we belong, and in order to remember who we are yet to become. So take your time in the halls today to call up the memories recent and long past. And take time to thank those stairs, and to thank those floors, and to thank those walls for serving us so well and for so long. The cracks in the ceilings and the broken pipes cannot be ignored anymore, but they can be acknowledged today for their time well served. You may even wish to wander a little this afternoon for a last look at the original rabbinic offices where you were cared for. Rabbi Stroh is here today. You may want to walk past the cantorial offices where you brought your nervous children for their bar mitzvah rehearsals, or maybe you were one of those nervous b'nai mitzvah. You may want to wander up to the 3rd floor where you may have taught a class or visited Heinz Warschauer's office by the tower. Yes, today we say thank you and we say farewell to these spaces, which will soon be reconfigured to give our congregation new life. Today we hear God's voice urging us forward, calling us to advance, to take that leap of action as we lay claim to the future we seek for our children and our grandchildren, Lidor Vador indeed. And now we shift to prepare for Yizkor. So many have come today with personal, private memories. Usually what is true for the collective Jewish people is also true for the individual Jew. Our people had many responses at the shores of the sea, many mixed emotions today, replacing old familiar passageways through the temple. And certainly on this day of Yizkor, when we reflect on life after death of a loved one, we carry a bag laden with emotion, but no one is the same. For some, the bag may be small, and we only take it out from time to time. For others, the bag of mourning and memory is large and weighs us down. It is heavy. Diane Cohen of Colonia, New Jersey, shares her own Yizkor reflections in a piece entitled, "My Mother's Dishes." I wonder if it will resonate. She writes, "Every year I swear I'll never do it again. Every year it gets more and more difficult. It used to be I was surrounded by small children, dogs, and hamsters. There was help that someone would bring dishes in from the garage, someone to help take them out again. And I would work late into the night, and I was so tired, but the context was family, and so somehow I was all right. But then I left, and everything changed overnight. I left the kids and the dogs and the hamsters and the support. And my mother left me. In one summer, it seemed my history had disappeared. Or so I thought. So I am standing here on my step stool, going through the motions again. Except unlike the old days in the house in the suburbs, I carry in and I carry out by myself. There are fewer dishes and fewer people to feed now. But unlike the old days in the suburbs, I now have my mother's beautiful etched glass stemware and silver-plated tableware and ancient ceramic dishes that serve only four, and then that missing teacup somehow, all my mother's legacy. And I realize that my history isn't gone at all. So while I tape the paper over the chametz glasses and cups and hide them and wonder, why do I keep doing this? I reflect on, with quiet pleasure, on how I find each year the unpacked glass compote set and the matching glasses, all the vestiges of my childhood when everything seemed, at least to me, so simple and so safe. Each one is an old friend, and it is wonderful to greet them each year. Pesach isn't an event, it's a process. It's the unfolding of memories and rediscovering of loved ones lost. The liberation of Pesach, that happens over and over again each year. It is the liberation from the bondage of the pain that is wrapped around each of our memories. How easy it would be to put those dishes and stemware away and never look back, never to be reminded of the sweet times I remember. The hazelnuts floating in Manischewitz Concord grape, the taste of my mother's sponge cake, the gefilte fish with carrot slices, icy cold and freshly made the day before, and the warmth and the security I took for granted. I am free now to remember without too many saltwater tears. And the tears are from happiness as much as they are from sadness, for they are the tears of one who has been blessed to have had those memories at all. I was lucky then, and I am lucky now to have the memories to unpack with my mother's things each Pesach. And so I will continue to pack and unpack again and again, to rediscover these old friends I might take for granted if they were with me every day of the year. And I will be grateful for the tears that I shed, those saltwater tears I see each spring, for the freedom to choose, the freedom to bring out those tears again and again, for the freedom to choose my burdens, for the freedom to choose to love my burdens. It is never just one thing. Today we sing joyful songs of Hallel, and today we sing melodies of mourning and memorial. Loss is complicated, and we are complicated, and families are complicated, capable of complex, simultaneous emotions. Like our ancestors at the sea, we may have moments of despair and or anger, moments of pessimism and or hope, moments of exhaustion and or surges of creativity, moments of passivity and faithful moments of prayer, when we call upon our God to be our strength and to be our shield. This is one such moment when we come to our sanctuary to ask for God's guidance. And if we listen carefully, we may hear God's response back to us. God answers clearly, saying, "Ma titzak elai?" Why do you cry out to me? Tell the people to advance. Tisa'u, advance. On this Yom Tov, let us honor the memories of those we have loved and lost by taking them with us as we advance into the future and pursue the path of this good life. Amen.